We told you about this a little earlier in the broadcast. The Pirelli Tyres Chip Foose Dempsey Racing Edition Mazda RX-8 giveaway. Now Pirelli wants you to have a chance to win this special car designed by Chip Foose himself. All you have to do is continue watching the coverage here on Speed and look for that special code word. It'll be on camera at least 3 times during our show.
Does it move?
It might do. Might also have 5 letters. grandam.com/Foose. Enter that prize word to have a chance at winning. That'll go all season long, right up to our second last round. So we wish you well with that. This is not very good at all. Watch this.
Boy, and Calvin, how many times have we seen that? We talk about how slippery that pit lane is, how narrow it is. We heard David Hobbs talk about it before. You just cannot imagine. It's just like an ice skating rink.
Well,
right
we
there.
heard Dario Franchitti talk about it. We heard Jimmy Johnson talk about cold tires. You cannot believe how treacherous it is. And that pit lane exit is so tight, so narrow. You just put some steering input in the car and suddenly it's like someone rips the rug out from underneath you and just plows straight into the wall. But for a guy with the experience of Pedro Lama, you'd have to say that was a big mistake.
We're going to come back and update you on this SunTrust Racing situation in just a moment. But first, let's go to Brumos.
Well, the lineup here at Brumos this year is spectacular. Everybody here has a win at the Rolex 24. Rafa Matos, you've got 1 in class. And what a great job you did in the 59 out there. It seems like when the track dried out and the cool temperatures came, the 59 came alive.
Yes, definitely. The car has been really good all night. We're just taking our time and being very cautious, especially on traffic. And the team did a great job in the pit stops, and we're just trying to survive for 23 hours and fight for the win in the last hour.
I know you were laying down some great laps out there, but when you got out of the car and did the driver change, it seemed to take a little bit long, and I could tell you were not at all happy when you were talking to the boss on the box.
Yeah, it was a little unfortunately. The seat belt got hooked on my lap, and I lost a little bit of time, but still a lot of time to recover from this, and we have a great car, and we'll keep fighting.
And I know the lap times you were laying down, you and I were just talking about it, you weren't taking any risk, you were telling me.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's not a time to take any risks. I was braking quite early and taking my time on the downshifts, being really easy on the gearbox, and just driving the car to survive for 23 hours, like I said.
So there may be even better things in store for the 59, but right now things not going at all well for the 10. Kelly?
They're not, and I'm here with Wayne Taylor, owner of this SunTrust Ford. Wayne, simply what happened and what next?
Yeah, we were making our laps back. The car was really good. He came in, we put new rubber on, and I think cold tires, cold track, and he just flipped the corner of the front splitter, which obviously has damaged it enough for us to rip the whole front of the car out. These guys will get it fixed. It'll also give us time to do our first brake pad change. We're going to lose a few laps.
You have as much experience here as just about anybody, so you've seen this sort of thing happen before. I mean, how do you keep this team going and motivated for still a long race yet to go?
Well, it is. These guys have been working around the clock anyway. We've done this many times, and if anybody can get this sorted out, these guys can do it. You know, and I mean, it's still so early in the race, and there's plenty of hours left at this point.
All right, thanks, Wayne.
Thanks.
Well, we talk about this race, prepare for the unexpected, and Wayne Taylor and Ricky Taylor went to Indianapolis last weekend to practice their driver changes, but I spoke to Wayne this week and he said all of the crew are working on things such as this, changing these noses. This can really make or break your race. You have to be prepared, you have to be rehearsed, you need to get this job done quickly and efficiently.
Look at this. Leadership comes from the top. That is the senior engineer in the white shirt there, Travis Jacobson. He and Simon Hodgson run this team for Wayne Taylor, and it is all hands on deck. There is no just barking orders. One of the top men there getting his hands dirty.
And look how easy this happens. No speed here whatsoever. He turns the wheel to the left, car just skates right into the wall. Now, it could have just taken off the nose. They could have fixed it right away, but no, it hits the splitter, so they got to tear the whole front end off.
He nearly lost it too when he got back to power there. You can see the rear jump out immediately. But the saving grace here, it's under caution. If this was under green and the rest of the competitors were still flying around, they'd be losing more and more track time. But right now, they've just got to get the job done, work efficiently, don't panic. Sometimes, even when you get the car behind pit wall, you can have an army of guys on there, but you got to be efficient. Everyone needs to know their role, calm down, and get the job done.
All right, lights are off on the pace car. It is Jimmy Vasser at the front in the 99, Tracy Crone in the 75. However, Tracy did not come into pit. He's been out there for some 27 laps. So he's only got possibly another 7 or 8 laps left before he will be forced to pit for fuel. Lucas Bruce Lure is in third, and it's Juan Pablo Montoya in the first of the Ganassi cars, the 02 that you see next.
The nice thing for Tracy is he'll have a little bit of tire temperature still remaining in that car, so that should help him out a bit. But he's got a swarm of really fast cars right behind him. Of course, Tracy Chrome, one of the Pro-Am drivers in this field today.
And they're not going to wait behind him for very long, because we know Juan Pablo Montoya wants to get to the front. These restarts are a great way to make up a lot of positions quick.
There's one of the Crown Royal Level 5 cars. Where's the next one? Look for the fluoro yellow mirrors. It's former F1 driver and four-time champ car titleist Sebastian Bourdais right at the back of that group there. There's Sebastian.
Look at Ryan Dial there. He's right in the mix as well. He can really put one of these Daytona prototypes around this racetrack. Sensational here in 2007 when he was duking it out with Montoya for the overall lead for many, many laps.
And it's the 6th car of AJ Allmendinger on the inside. Check this out. Allmendinger and Bourdais side by side. It's the NASCAR specialist now with more experience on the high banks. This 31-degree banking here at the World Center of Racing. And AJ knows how to get that done.
Saw how easy he made that once he passed. He moved up to the high lane to block any advancement there. Now he's going to work through this infield.
Well, Michael Schenk told me, he said, when I get Michael Valiente and AJ Allmendinger behind the wheel of this 6 car, they are on kill mode.
Oh, trouble here. This time a pretty big wreck with the 21.
Jim Briotti is behind the wheel of that Pontiac GTO-R.
That will bring out a full course caution because obviously radiator is damaged. That's not going anywhere.
And does Dial get that pass complete before the yellow comes out? I don't think he does. So they will reform, they will regroup, and now we see our 8th full course yellow within the first 164 laps of the Rolex 24.
One thing that the series is trying to do this year, and a lot will depend on how long it takes to clean up this car, but if we see a caution within 5 laps of a previous yellow, there's a new procedure to speed it up, and whoa, that was a big hit there.
Yeah, that was a very big hit. He was off the road back on that kink, I believe, Calvin, and once he got on that wet grass, obviously there's nothing but hold on time then.
Severe damage there to the 21 car, and this is a very hard-working team, Matt Connolly Motorsports. They do a lot with very little. Just a tireless group who just keep pounding and pounding, trying to keep their cars on the racetrack. Don't have the biggest budget, but they certainly put the effort in.
Helps the 10 boys, doesn't it? Back under caution.
Exactly. We talked about it being under caution. They went back to green. Now we're caution again. Big break.
All hands on deck at SunTrust. We wish them well. Let's hope they get that car back out as quickly as possible. Under our 8th full course caution, and this is an ideal time just to check any of those niggly problems, use up this caution period while we're not under green, just to maybe double check things that may have been raising some alarm bells and make sure everything is perfect. And the 01 is sent. Memo Rojas slowly makes his way back out of pit road. And the 21 Matt Connolly Motorsports car is being rescued. The GTO Association of America won't be too pleased to see that. They were sponsoring the Matt Connolly machine and were hoping for a big result. This is Jim Briotti with a scary ride, and he narrowly missed the tire barrier. Unfortunately, he collected the Armco, and that's what caused the majority of the damage there. Good signs here at the SunTrust camp.
Well, this is remarkable work, because we understand from Kelly down there that there was damage, major damage to the rear of that car as well. A wishbone, push rod. We understand the floor was damaged too. See the scuff marks to the right side, so when he went in with that right front doors, he also clouded the right rear and did some damage to the rear end as well.
Yep, and the second caution really has helped them a lot because it slowed that pace down while they were affecting these repairs. But, you know, they were 3 laps down from that antenna situation early on in the race. They made 2 of them up. They were almost making that 3rd one up when this had to happen.
But they're now like 6 laps down, so they just got to get back in the fight, think of the big picture, and look at where their garage is situated, Dorsey, very close to pit lane.
Here's your garage, and here's your pit lane.
They're back underway. You cannot refuel back in the garage, so I'm not sure where he was on fuel. He should have been topped up. Of course, he left pit lane previously, so he still should be good on fuel. Should be no need for a further stop for fuel, and I'm sure he's going to tread very carefully down here this time.
Well, you know, I never hit that wall down there, but I felt that the front end give up there before, and it's just
scary.
It is scary.
There was another famous driver for the SunTrust team. It was in the Riley chassis many years ago who did the same thing. Jeff Gordon.
Uh-oh, no headlights on this car right now, boys. I don't know if you switched them on.
Well, at night you have to have at least one front and one rear, plus the brake lights working during nighttime hours. There we go.
Just hadn't turned them on yet.
This is devastating, though. These were one of the favorites, sat on the pole, and everyone expected them to be in the heat of the battle tomorrow afternoon.
As we stay under caution, let's bring you up to date with some more highlights. We go to hour 5. And as the DPs push their way through the GT traffic, it was a scary ride for another one of the Matt Connolly machines, the 19 Corvette. That was Romanini. And then the Corsa PR1 M6 BMW just had an easy spin, so nothing too dramatic in hour 5 and hour 6. This wasn't so great for the Miller Barrett car. And so too for Emil Asentato, who just went in a little too deep and then paid the price in the pole-sitting GT car. And then this, most recently, Pedro Lamy with a big crunch in the pit side wall, and then Jim Briotti most recently. So there have been some incidents and accidents as we go to the Pirelli race summary. Lucas Luhr has climbed to the top aboard the NPN Racing Level 5 BMW powered Riley. We've had 8 cautions. We'll be back. The official charity of Grand Am is Camp Boggy Creek, a remarkable facility that relies on charity, on donations to give children a wonderful experience. And each and every year, the Frizzell boys host their annual putt-putt golf day. Everyone has a lot of fun. There was a good turnout, and even though you see Alex Gurney holding the trophy, we understand that David Donahue was again the man.
He was, but you have to think whether this is like the Masters. If you win the par 3 competition midweek, you never win the big one on Sunday. So for David Donahue, is that a bad omen here? The car's awfully quick, though. I'm not sure the competition's going to go for that.
Do they have a one-eyed alligator in the pond?
Are you Shooter McGavin?
Not today.
Reminding you from Irwindale, California, Rick Allen and the gang have the NASCAR Toyota All-Star Showdown right here on Speed. That's coming up right after we're done, and that's at the top of the hour. So just a little over half an hour's time, 10 p.m. Eastern. We go out west for that. So here's the rundown. It's Lucas Luhr, Juan Pablo Montoya. Ryan Dial will be loving this opportunity up against the big boys. Armendinger's in there, and then we've got the 55 with Sebastian Bourdais. To Brian with an update. Brian?
Well, Lee, you know, we talked to Sylvain Tremblay about the Mazdas and how well they were running, but on that last set of stops, Jonathan Bomarito came in, got a new set of tires, and went out and immediately had a vibration. So they came back in, changed tires, thinking maybe it was pickup or something like that. But when he went back out, he said it's still there. Bill Riley has been on the radio with him, talking back and forth, trying to isolate where that vibration is coming from. Bill had him even pushing in the clutch and free revving the motor to see if he could feel something in the drivetrain when the engine turned over. Right now, they've not been able to isolate where it is. All Bill's been able to say is if you can still see okay and it's not vibrating that bad, stay out on the racetrack and just see if it gets worse. Maybe we can pinpoint the source of that vibration later, or perhaps maybe it is just something on a tire that we'll let go after we get up to speed here.
Well, vibrations at a high-speed racetrack like Daytona are never good. You know, you can do all those things, try to check it out, turn right, left, turn right, brush the brake a little bit, see if you can feel it anything. But it will get worse, let me tell you that. It never gets better.
This is going to be awesome. This restart will be something special. Watch Montoya. He will be relishing the opportunity to have a go at Lucas Luhr. It's 2 BMW-powered Rileys up front, and then we've got Ryan Dial in the V8 Porsche-powered Riley for Action Express. It's a new team, but it's still being staffed majority by the Brumos gang. And then you've got Sebastian Bourdais right behind AJ Armendinger. Lights are off. We're coming to green. It's the end of our 8th full course yellow. Ready to go. Do you like the look of Montoya? And can Lucas Luhr do it?
Well, he stacks them up. He stacks them up. You're not allowed to initiate a pass. You can't break that line before you cross the stripe here.
Montoya will not have liked that a bit. Tries the outside.
and makes it look easy around the outside of Lucas Luer. Luer cannot fight JPM, or does he come back now? No, one's too far out in front.
Unbelievable move, and you talked about the confidence of this driver, Dorsey. That was proven right there in that move.
That was a power move, no doubt about it. And we talked about Juan Pablo and his ability to use his car control on cold tires. You just saw it right there.
Yeah, watch that car third. Watch the white, yellow, red and black car right there. Ryan Dial will be wanting a shot at Lucas Luer as well. Can Armendinger stay with them? And Sebastian Bourdais.
This is a fantastic group that we have here right at the front of this pack. 5 of the best road racers in the business now going to go hammer and tongs. Their team managers, their crew chiefs are going to have to calm these boys down. There's a long way to go, 18 hours left.
There's a slight gap back to the famous 59. Butch Leitzinger is behind the wheel. Then the second Ganassi car of Rojas, Vassar, Colin Brown, and Oswaldo Negri. That's the top 10. First flying lap.
Boys, I think the other thing to pay attention to, remember it's BMW power. You got BMW power in the second car, and up front the V8 Porsche. So right now we're going to find out. We heard the guys talk about that V8 Porsche there in the hands of Ryan Dial, maybe being down on top speed a little bit. He's got a Ford behind him, BMW's in front. We're going to find out how that Porsche runs here on the high banks at Daytona.
You may have noticed the Stevenson Camaro coming through that shot very rapidly. Robin Liddell is now leading class. He's 13th overall, and he's got that 57 Camaro up the top ahead of Tim George Jr. and Seth Nyman.
Here comes AJ Allmendinger trying to use that Ford power. He's looking for a way by Ryan Dial. Remember last year was leading before they had that heartbreak and that failure that took them out of the running. AJ wants this race. He wants it bad. He's finished second before.
He says, I don't know whether it's me or if it's the team or what. He said, every time we're doing well or I'm leading, something happens. He said, we need to break that curse this year.
This 4-car train's about to be joined by a bunch of others. I don't know, because they're racing so close together, they're slowing themselves up, but there's a bunch of guys coming in from behind.
Big year 2 for AJ with the blue oval. He's driving a Ford-powered Riley here. He makes the switch to Ford in NASCAR Sprint Cup with Richard Petty Motorsports and that merger with Yates as well. So he's looking forward to that, and consistency with driving for the blue oval.
And not that any of these drivers need an added incentive, but for Lucas Luer, who's currently running second, he just got word this week that he will not be part of Audi's Le Mans squad for this year. So he has to think that his contract with Audi may be in jeopardy and his future may lay elsewhere. He'll be trying to make a statement here today.
Pedro Lamy is now some 5 laps down after that pit road incident.
Look at that car bottoming out, too. I mean, it's not got the ride height right. See the headlights bouncing along, so that front splitter, Calvin, I think, is probably not adjusted properly.
Kelly also mentioned it looked like they had to change a rear push rod as well, so maybe some of the miss, or maybe the bodywork is still torn on that car. Got to wait until the tire temps and pressures are fully up, but you don't want to be running or have a setup where the car would be banging that badly around this banking. It's going to beat things up.
Particularly because you lose full aero. When that nose cone goes down, hits on the ground, you lose all the aero completely. Then it rebounds up, and you got air underneath the car.
Armendinger continues to pressure Ryan Dial. It's Juan Pablo Montoya. There's nothing between he and Lucas Luer. Then back to Dial and AJ Armendinger.
Dial and AJ had so many great battles in their Toyota Atlantic days, and right now they're duking it out once again.
Butch Leitzinger now driving the 59 Brumos Porsche with a bunch of people trailing him.
Vassar's looking strong there too. And aboard the 75, Colin Brown has now taken over from Tracy Crome. There's Jimmy behind the wheel of the 99. Do you know what the boys were telling me earlier this week? That Vassar set his fastest time ever since he's been driving a Daytona prototype. This is his 5th campaign with the Red Dragon and with the Gainsco squad. And it seems Jimmy's getting faster with age.
He really is. I spoke to him at the January test. The team was not here for the December test. And I said, how do you feel, Jimmy? I mean, typically he used to do the longer race at Miller late in the year. He didn't do that last year. There was no need for him to be there as a third driver. So it was a full 12 months since he last sat in a race car. And he said, you know what? This racetrack is not that hard. I always feel immediately comfortable here at Daytona. He got in the car, immediately set very good lap times. And Bob Stallings had a big smile on his face and said, I just love it when Jimmy Vassar is driving my race car. He gets the job done.
And Jimmy had one of the best quotes of the entire week when the crew worked tirelessly to get the 99 back together. You know what Jimmy said? The Red Dragon is alive. and it certainly is. Pushing hard. There's your top 5. What a top 5. You're watching the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We've got around about 20 minutes left here, right to the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Eastern at the World Centre of Racing. But we will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, live, and we're going to take you all the way through to the finish of the 48th Rolex 24 here at Daytona and then beyond. Dramas for Paul Menard in the spirit of Daytona 90. This is the Porsche-powered Coyote, and there was contact while we're in the ad break. It was enough to take the front end off that car, and this will tell you the story.
Once again, International Horseshoe. How slippery is it? Paul gets on the throttle, watch the car, breaks loose, and unfortunately for Dion von Moltke, gets in the side of his car. Take a look at it from a different angle and you'll see what happens.
Watch the 99 too. Good evasive action from Jimmy Vasser.
Nowhere to go for Dion. I mean, he just gets T-boned. And for Menard, I mean, the car just steps out on him, which is so normal. Ooh, and a little debris. The 40 gets in 271.
Joe Foster behind the wheel of the Dempsey Racing machine.
And Paul Menard decides to take the Coyote back behind the wall, back to Troy Fliss and his men.
And we have a full course yellow once again. This will be the 9th one.
That's for the debris. That is obvious. So this is for number 9. And as they dive for pit road, this is Dion von Moltke. Let's go to Kelly Stavis. She has more.
I've got Charles Esplanade from that number 40 Mazda, and so far the team doesn't seem too concerned about that contact it made there with the debris on the road. But you're running 9th now. Kind of summarize the ride from here, from this get-go to here.
That kind of sums it up. We've had a couple minor setback with the Mazda, but nothing we haven't had to overcome. We haven't had to do any extra long pit stops or anything. It looks like we'll be okay from that contact. Fortunately, no tire cut down or anything, but that's the name of the 24-hour adversity. Dempsey Racing, we're here to overcome, so hopefully we'll still be here tomorrow afternoon.
You spent 2009 as kind of the 3rd member of this team, filling in when Patrick Dempsey couldn't make it to the track for his filming commitments. What has your journey been like? You kind of joke that you're the most hated man in the paddock because when you're here, Patrick's not. But really, what has your journey been like with this team?
Well, obviously, I love running with the team. I love for Patrick to be able to run, obviously. It's a good thing for me sometimes when he can't make it, but, hopefully in the future we'll be able to do it. But, yeah, I think I'm the most hated guy. People show up at the trailer. Is Patrick here, Patrick? No, Charles is here. And they're like, oh, yeah, and they walk away. But, it's a great thing. We're a great family. Everybody at Mazda, we all love everybody. And, Patrick does a lot for us. So it's a good time all over.
I have a hard time believing that anyone would hate this man, right, Lee?
He's a great guy and a very talented driver, Charles Esplanade, and we wish him well. There's dramas down here at the Starworks camp, and as we told you a little earlier, Dion von Moltke was involved in that contact with Paul Menard, but it seems as though it's a little more serious than that, Dawes.
Well, this is one of those right place, wrong time kind of thing. Certainly nothing Dion could have done, but it took a pretty good shot, and now they're having to take care of it and take a look. It might have got hit on that rear suspension. That's what they're working on the left rear corner.
Ian James in the background there in the white and black driving suit. He's one of the 4 members. And then Peter Barron, who's the team principal, is communicating on the radio, taking a good close look at the car. Peter has been around motorsport as a driver and a team owner, team manager for so many years. And he's very excited about this season coming up.
Yeah, he really is. It's going to be a 2-car effort. There you see Ian James, who got drafted in just this week to join this squad and really bring some experience to the camp. And it's pretty unfortunate because Dion was really not doing anything wrong there and just got caught out by the 90 car spinning across his bow. And they just want to check everything out, be really careful here because, an extra minute on pit lane, Dorsey, can save you several laps if the car goes back out with a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, right now behind the caution, you have the time to look. You'll take another look at this. You'll see Paul Menard in the lime green yellow car. Simple spin or a half spin, but Dion gets T-boned.
There was contact on the front left door. Did you see that?
Yeah, it got it pretty good right down the side. Nowhere he could have gone.
I initially thought it was just left rear, but watch the front left of car number 7. There's Menard getting sideways. There's
right
the
on the
contact.
wheel. Sure did.
Let's go to that Starworks team. Kelly?
Here with Ian James, who was really giving it a good look over and just some bad luck. But what did you see as far as damage on that car?
Yeah, Dion, wrong place, wrong time. Front end looks good. We got some side pod damage. We lost the rear deck underneath, but we think it's okay. So he's going to go around, come back in, and put the new set of tires on, and we think we should be okay.
Can you just kind of summarize? I mean, this race, a lot of people have seen their troubles here tonight, but there's still a lot of time left.
Yeah, well, we've had a few troubles now, so hopefully they're out of the way, and some other people deserve a few now, right?
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks.
See the big brake hose up there in front of the front tire on the right side. It's been torn away from its little carbon fiber mounting place. It's getting plenty of air right now, however.
So 9th full course yellow. They're starting to pile up, aren't they? On Pablo Montoya is the overall race leader ahead of Lucas Luhr, Ryan Dial, AJ Allmendinger and Sebastian Bourdais. It's then Butch Leitzinger, a multiple Rolex 24 winner, Memo Rojas, former series champ and 24-hour winner, Colin Brown, Jimmy Vasser, Oswaldo Negri. That's the top 10. And in GT, Robin Liddell has that Stevenson Camaro out in front of Tim George, Seth Nyman, Jonathan Bomarito and Matt Bell in the 97. So that is the second Stevenson Camaro. So that gives you the rundown, that gives you the order, gives you an idea of who is where.
95 coming in, taking advantage of the yellow.
That's the second place runner, Lucas Luhr. He had 18 laps on the board, about 4 more than the rest of the front runners, so he takes an opportunity to make this pit stop. Brian's down there in the Brumos camp.
Butch Leitzinger just topping off with fuel. A little tape on the screen on the radiator opening just to make sure that it was keeping all the debris out. I'll tell you what, the Brumos camp has lined up a stellar driver lineup for this 2010 Rolex 24. Every one of these drivers has at least one win here at the Rolex 24. Even Rafael Matos, the new kid on the block, has a pretty good batting percentage here at the Rolex 24. He won his first time out just 2 years ago.
This all looks relatively routine. You can tell that the 7's going to have to come back in. And Calvin, when we saw that side shot, it looks a little bit more serious than what I first thought.
So the 95 serviced and sent. Incidentally, Colin Brown's dad, Jeff Brown, engineering that car. We'll talk more when we come back. The Rolex 24 at Daytona is presented on speed by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. Brought to you in part by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. And the boys have had to demonstrate plenty of control here this afternoon and this evening as we welcome you to our final segment here at the World Center of Racing. GT leading car is in, Robin Liddell and the Stevenson Camaro.
It is that beautiful 57 Camaro. It's great to see these cars out here, and a little bit of nostalgia seeing Camaros run here at Daytona International Speedway. The car running well. One of the things they were saying on the radio is when you leave, make sure with those hot tires, don't spin them too much and put too much stress on the drivetrain.
So the Stevenson group do another good job in getting their car serviced. One of their 2 cars, we should say now. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, 2 GT cars in Grand Am Rolex competition and 2 in Continental Tire competition. Now, as that car goes back to the track, we need to go down to the pits because we understand Lucas Luhr is a little hot under the collar. Kelly?
Well, he got out of that 95 and looked pretty animated talking to his team manager. Lucas, what happened out there?
It was the previous safety car period when I was scrubbing my tires and suddenly I felt a big bang from the right. Montoya was hitting me. I'm pretty sure he didn't that on purpose. It was for sure a misunderstanding, but I was a little bit shocked. I said under the safety car, and we are not in cup racing, so it was unusual.
You said you really enjoy driving these Daytona prototypes so you can have a little fun with them. What is it about them that makes you enjoy being out here?
Well, I mean, it's good racing. You saw it. I just had a great fight with Juan and the 75 car before, so we went on second place. Now we changed the strategy a little bit. We came in this time, all the others did not, and I hope it's gonna pay out. But the cars are just fun to drive, you know. No matter which circumstances, it's dry or wet, it's always good.
Do you know when you're getting back behind the 95?
I think I have like 4 hours or so, and then I'm back in.
Right in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
All right, thanks, Lucas.
That's what it's all about for Lucas Luhr Endurance Racing. Let's show you a quick replay of what he's talking about. It was coming to the green on a previous restart, Dorsey.
And we thought at the time that he checked up a little bit. You see Juan Pablo right behind him. Must have clipped him a little bit there, Calvin.
Yeah, certainly ready to go. He was chomping at the bit and he wanted to see that green flag and he wanted the lead, and that's exactly what he got as they got down into the turn 1 braking zone.
Hey, what was that?
That was a common thing with if you had Robbie Gordon behind you. He does that on every lap.
I'll tell you what, though, these guys coming from different disciplines, even for this one race, they just love this form of racing. It's so competitive. There's always a race. Doesn't matter when in the race, whether it's the last 5 laps, the first 5 laps, you're going out at hammer and tongs.
Let's see if we can get some momentum now. Clear track ahead for Juan Pablo Montoya, a 2-time Rolex 24 winner. Let's go back to work. He's got Ryan Dial and AJ Allmendinger coming on strong.
Allmendinger had a thought on around the outside, doesn't do it now.
Sebastian Bourdais currently running 4th, just gradually getting up to speed. And when I say that, it's all relative, of course, in terms of the leader's pace. He's right there, heavily in the mix, but he didn't do either of the tests here this winter and came on board just for this race week. So at this level, even someone of Sebastian's speed and experience, it takes a few laps, Dorsey, to really get those last few tenths out of the race car.
And that's where Juan Pablo Montoya is so good. Look at him. He's able to pull out more from the car on the outlap than anybody I've ever seen. And no matter what he drives on a restart, this guy is brilliant.
Car number 60 is Oswaldo Negri. There he is there, one behind Sebastian Bourdais, trying to get back on the lead lap. Oz is currently in 10th in the Crown Royal XR machine, and he's trying to make up for lost time. Look at his teammate AJ Allmendinger down on the low line on Ryan Dial. He's got a lot more experience than Ryan has on the high banks, and he does it again. We saw him do that to Sebastian Bourdais earlier, and now he's pulled the move off on Ryan Dial, but the Scotsman doesn't want anything to do with it.
It's a drag race, but AJ's going to take him down into the brake zone. He's got the inside line. He takes away 2nd spot.
Wow, now we'll see on the banking what happens. Looks to me like the 9 car actually with Dial driving had more power. It definitely did on that back corner.
It's BMW, Ford, and Porsche. Montoya, Allmendinger, and Dial. But this young man, AJ Allmendinger, who thoroughly enjoys coming to drive for Mike Shank Racing, has one big thing on his career, on his resume, yet to achieve, and that is getting a Rolex wristwatch right here.
And I tell you, one man who's going to be driving the wheels off his race car is the guy who's currently 5th in line, but a lap down, Oswaldo Negri. Mike Shank and the boys have performed some magic. Remember, John Pugh nosed it into the tire wall. They went down a couple of laps, but right now, Oz is just a few seconds away from getting back on that lead lap, and that is critical in this 24-hour race.
This man here who we're riding with as well in the SunTrust Dallara, Pedro Lamy, probably about half a dozen laps ago, set the fastest lap of the race. He is multiple laps down, so any lap that he can get back is valuable, but he's a lot further down than this man here, Oswaldo Negri.
And he didn't just set it, he scorched it by 3/4 of a second over the rest of the field. Do you think he's fired up, Dorsey?
Oh, you know he is, and I can't emphasize enough that there's so much time left in this race that where you sit right now doesn't make any difference. If you're 2 laps down, if you're 3 laps down, you'll have plenty of opportunity to claw your way back if that's what you want.
Lamy's pace may in fact be a true indicator of what these cars could run if they wanted to at this stage of the game. Everyone else has probably got that 3/4 of a second in hand. They don't want to push it 100% right now.
This car's still bouncing around pretty heavily after that nose damage, replacing that whole front end. That will pay its, it'll take its toll on the car.
Yeah, it's quite surprising, actually. We thought that the car had problems by the way it seemed to be bottoming out on the banking, but for him to run those sort of lap times. Here comes Negri. If he can get Bourdais, he'll be one position closer to getting to the front of this pack and trying to get onto that lead lap again.
3 more cars for Negri to get by to get onto the lead lap. Lamy goes the inside. 2 former F1 drivers, door to door there, and Pedro executes a move on Sebastian Bourdais.
And they both need to get this lap back very, very badly. So it's time for them to race right now. Maybe not the other guys, but these guys have an agenda. They have to catch up.
Nothing between Montoya and Allmendinger at the front, less than a second. Then Dial is a couple of seconds further back. And then we move to these 2 guys here. Sebastian Bourdais, Memo Rojas. Behind Rojas, 6th overall is Colin Brown. Then Jimmy Vasser is 7th. Leitzinger is 8th. Hunter Ray is 9th. And then Oswaldo Negri. We've told you all about his mission, trying to get back onto the lead lap.
What a top 10. Look at the driving talent out there tonight, all competing against one another in the middle of this race.
A lot of people felt that Sebastian Bourdais, Cal, I know that you're a big F1 fan like I am too, and we watch it all the time. A lot of people felt that Sebastian Bourdais was hard done by getting dumped by Toro Rosso. He was replaced by Jaime Alguersuari, who's just been re-signed for another season. He's yet to score a point.
I know, I mean, Bourdais, I just feel he's got so much talent. 4 Champ Car titles behind him. We all expected him to go over there and just really do well, and he just didn't seem to fit in. Something was not quite right. He struggled with the setup on the car last year against Vettel, or excuse me, in 2008. Last year wasn't a great year, and suddenly his time may be done.
You don't think those fireworks are a bit distracting, do you?
My God, I was right in the braking zone for the trickiest corner on the racetrack.
That's what I'm talking about.
Everything coming down as
There's
well.
debris there falling down in the racetrack.
Look at these two guys pushing each other. The Brazilian and the man from Portugal, Pedro Lamy. 2 Portuguese drivers in the race, he and João Barbosa. 2 incredibly quick guys.
Montoya just set fastest lap of the race, but just 1/10 behind him is AJ Allmendinger. We talked about it. There's 3/4 of a second in hand. Right now, the boys are using it up.
This is the time of night where you can really concentrate on going quick. You're not hurting the car so much right now. It's cool out there. The cars are making horsepower. It's time to go fast.
You know how many people want to meet motor racing stars and NASCAR stars? There's a lot of people who want AJ Allmendinger's autograph. Guess who he met during the off-season? He got to meet one of his sporting heroes, Brett Favre. He met him through Dale Jarrett up at the game against the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte, and that was one of the highlights of AJ's off-season. He said, man, I couldn't believe it. He said, I know I'm only a little guy, but I couldn't believe how big Brett was.
That looks like my motorhome engine did last week with all that fireworks up there. There you go, right in the brake zone.
What a great part of the race, Dorsey. I mean, things cooling down, track is feeling good. We've got a really good dry line now. Tires are up to temp. When you're behind the wheel of one of these Daytona prototypes, it doesn't get any better than this.
And you get some of the best drivers behind the wheel right now you'll ever get.
The track's coming to them, the times are tumbling. And the race leader is the fastest man of the race. He wants that 3rd watch. That is quite clear with that stellar lineup in the O2. Another quick reminder, coming up right after we farewell you, just in a minute's time, is the NASCAR Toyota All-Star Showdown. We told you a little earlier, drivers the likes of Joey Logano, David Gilliland out there. So stay on speed. Now we have to say farewell now. Time for us to get a little bit of a rest. We'll be back nice and early tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern.
I don't want to go.
I know, it's just starting to get good, isn't it? And we're with you right through until 4 p.m. Eastern. Get some sleep, Dawson. It's a big day tomorrow.
I don't know. That's right underneath my motor on that fireworks.
Well, what a start. It was a slow start with terrible conditions. A very wet and greasy track. However, it's coming to us. So too is this race. You can find out more on speedtv.com. You can follow the race, all the news and the results. And we'll see you from 7 tomorrow morning. On behalf of the entire Speed team, we'll see you then.